podcast. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Straz.
Welcome to the Red Hot Reds podcast. It is that time of the week that we're going to have a special guest, a guy that works in the Cincinnati Reds media space, a guy that's a real fan favorite. I think also technically Ricky's boss at Chatterbox Reds, a guy that also we're going to be diving into a little bit of his background, some things he's, along his journey of covering the Reds, covering baseball in general, and also a little bit about the 2025 Reds. So we're really excited and really thankful that he made some time for us. We are bringing on Cincinnati Reds host, Mr. Nick Kirby.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. Looking forward to talk some Austin Hendrick tonight.
You know how to tickle my fancy on that one.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, Nick, that you're making some time for us. I know you're real busy. I know you do a lot of content creation and stuff for your Chatterbox Reds, so we're real thankful for all the time you can give us. So.
Yeah, man, anytime.
So we usually just start off the interview pretty kind of simple, just one simple question. What is your first baseball memory or your first Reds memory?
Oh, first, I don't know exact first. My grandpa was the one who got me into baseball. He was a diehard Reds fan, and so yeah, I remember that. I don't remember the exact first game I went to. I don't know. I always went to the Red seats at Riverfront Stadium with my dad. That's he worked at GE, so anytime there was a GE day, we'd always get tickets, be up in the Red seats. So yeah, that was probably. I don't know the exact, probably 94 was probably the first year I got to a game.
Okay, cool. What's your most favorite Reds memory of all time?
Well, I was at Clinchmas in 2010. I don't think there'll be anything that will ever top that. I hope there's something that tops that, but that was just an unbelievable night. I mean, Reds hadn't been in the playoffs in 15 years. It was like a weight was lifted off the city, and I kind of feel like the weight's almost back on again, but I hope we can have another one of those moments because, man, that night was it was special. Like, leaving the game, this was like a Monday or Tuesday night, I think, like a weeknight. And like you go walk around downtown, everyone stayed downtown like till the wee hours in the morning, just celebrating a playoff berth. That was an incredible night.
Yeah, I would say. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd be jealous of that moment. That's I've never been to anything like crazy like that. The only thing that's I could say was like I saw Rhett Lauder's debut just by chance. And we had the Chatterbox night at the Riverboat where it was CES's debut. Yeah. So that was like the only two things that I've ever had that was like a moment, I guess. You're originally from Cincinnati, but you're up near Cleveland right now. Have you able to make sure that your kids are Reds fans or are they Guardians fans?
Oh, I try. I try. My wife's a Guardians fan, so there's certainly a little bit of a split. I told her she can have the Browns. Like if she can have the Cavs, she can have what I really don't care. I just want the Reds. So I'm doing the best I can. Now I will say I took the kids to the game in Cleveland. Of course, the only game this entire year that the Reds lost to the Guardians. I took them. I had them all in their Reds gear. We were having a great time. And I made the mistake because they wanted something. And I was like, I'll sign them up for the kids club because they had a whole lot of really cool stuff. And like, I don't like want them to not be like, I want them to be able to root for the Guardians every other day of the year. Like, why do I need to? So I was like, whatever, they can have that. What do my kids do? Reds fall behind. They switch into Guardians jerseys. Like I've never been more disgusted in my life. So it's a tough battle. I mean, thankfully they're in different leagues. It would be really hard. Like if like my wife was a Cubs fan, like trying to deal with, I wouldn't have a hard time with that. I don't know. The Reds Guardians rivalry is like so fake that it doesn't feel that intense.
There is a trophy.
Yeah.
Well, we're trophy holders, brother.
The exclusive trophy holders
for like 7 straight years. That's what I don't want to win. I want to tie for like 7 straight years. Just
Yeah.
how annoying it is to never win the cup because you tie every year. I don't want to win. I want to tie every year.
Yeah. Well, now it seems like they're going to be playing 6 games each year now, so it might be a little bit harder, but it's still a possibility. And yeah, I'm sure that'll annoy some Guardians fans. So, but yeah, I say, are your kids really into baseball? Like, what ages are they getting?
My daughter's 8. She's kind of more of the the art type. I try. My son, he's not really. He just turned 6, so he's not really at that full attention span yet. I'm getting him, but it's still great. It's just hard to get him away from like Minecraft right now. I mean, that's just like his entire brain is captivated by Minecraft. So anytime I can throw in, but they all know who Ellie De La Cruz is. That's every time I have a game on, they see Ellie De La Cruz, they stop and they say, "That's Ellie De La Cruz." That's about all I've got out of them.
You've done a good job.
Lesson number 1. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We went to the game today, and they just have like coloring books, and my kid's like into like making comics and all that, and we're in the Captain Underpants Dogman stage. Yeah. So like he's just drawing his own comics the whole time the Reds are getting their butts kicked by Byron Buxton. So there's that.
Smart decision.
Yeah, that's fair. We did some in digging around your former employment, and we kind of wanted to see basically what has been your worst job out of these jobs that we found out. We saw that you were a Starbucks shift manager, the Kings Island security, and then also a DJ for an amateur hockey team. Or if you have another one for
Starbucks was by far the worst. That was a miserable existence. I don't even like that whole culture of Starbucks. No offense to people who do. But it was a job that filled a need for me. And based on where I was in life, paid pretty well at the time. So I wrote it out as long as I could, but that was miserable. I loved working at Kings Island. I loved being a DJ. Starbucks has the cake by a mile.
What kind of culture is at Starbucks? Is it just because it's like really quick? You gotta get the people their order. Like, is it?
I'm not a coffee guy, which is which was kind of. I mean, it's on me. I mean, look, I'm owning it. This was my decision, to go there. I tried to like be a coffee guy to get it. It's just, like I live kind of in a more rural area, so there's not a whole lot of options for jobs. So that just was. I'm just not a coffee guy. I'm a Rain energy drink kind of guy.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe that's kind of an advantage. You can be kind of like on the outside and not know how the sausage is made. Because I can imagine there's some, I've worked in restaurants, and you start to see the other side of that situation. But
yeah, my wife is like the Starbucks Dunkin' Donut person, and I'm just like, it's all right. But if I'm drinking coffee, I'll drink it at home. I know this just from talking with you, but you went to Liberty University. How was it there, and what kind of activities did you do when you were there?
Yeah, so I only went 2 years on campus, and then I finished it up online on the 8-year college program. But yeah, it was cool. I don't necessarily, how do I say this politically correct? I don't necessarily align myself completely with everything with Liberty University, especially some of the things recently. So I kind of put that disclaimer out there. I don't want to get political by any means on your guys' show. But no, I had a lot of really good friends, people I still stay in touch with. I still follow the basketball team really close. I actually have some friends that are associated with the team. So I really got into basketball. That was my biggest like extension of Liberty. I enjoyed that a lot, and went and kind of traveled to some away games and saw the team. Got to see them play at Rupp Arena. That was maybe my highlight of my time at Liberty.
Was that the inspiration for your Kirby hoops?
Kind of, yeah, kind of, yeah. I've always loved college basketball.
I say they had a pretty decent year last year, or was it a couple years ago? I can't remember.
Yeah, they made the NCAA tournament last year. They've been on a good run like the last 7 years. I mean, they were one of the bottom feeders in college basketball when I was there, which kind of makes it fun because like when I went there, they were, there was like 350 teams. They were probably like the 280th best or something like that. And they've been one of like the top mid majors like the last 7 or 8 years. So kind of cool to kind of be, come in at the grassroots level and kind of follow them. And they've been pretty successful.
Yeah.
And Chatterbox actually broadcast a Liberty basketball game this year, which was just wild. They were just happened to be part of a tournament in Xenia. It was like a showcase, and Chatterbox broadcast, and I got to run the graphics for a Liberty basketball game. Just the most random thing that I had absolutely no part of how it happened. I came down and helped them out, and it was a pretty cool experience.
Wow, I thought that was at like your request that you're out there. Like,
no, Trace, my boss, was like, "You went to Liberty, right? Yeah, we're gonna broadcast one of their games." I'm like, "What?" Like,
just random.
The only time they ever broadcast a Division I basketball game. I mean,
yeah, I don't remember them coming. It was like a showcase for like players to be recruited.
It was the very first game of the college basketball season last year. They had 3 games. You know, they kind of do like those like tournaments. It wasn't a tournament. It was just 6 teams playing in one day. So Liberty's women played against Valparaiso. Liberty's men played against Valparaiso. And then it was Florida Atlantic and Indiana State. And Chatterbox got to broadcast the whole games. They were actually broadcast on Gray Media, which is like the whatever in Cincinnati, the Fox, they're like 19.2. We were on that.
Oh wow! All right, so that's big time. You're on a not cable. That's like a broadcast television. That's
cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
nice. That's awesome. But we also saw that in your work history. You wrote for Red Leg Nation. How'd you get started into writing?
Yeah, so I mean, I really, I grew up a Reds fan. Fell out kind of honestly with the Reds just because I was, when I was younger, they went to cable and I didn't have cable. My parents didn't have cable. Long story short, at college at Liberty, a couple guys were big Braves fans and kind of got me back into baseball. I came back, went to my first game in Cincinnati. First time I go back, I got to get to a game. Hadn't followed the team like super close, just maybe played a little bit of MLB 2K6 or whatever on Xbox. So I knew that was about my extent of baseball. And it was Jay Bruce's debut. I just happened to randomly be there. And I mean, really from that day on, I fully fell back in love with like the Cincinnati Reds, as cliche as that sounds. So I just, started following them, jumped on this stupid Twitter app and started interacting with people. I started my own little blog. And then Red Leg Nation reached out to me, "Hey, would you want to write for us?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And so started that, did that for a while. I mean, I never had any aspirations of doing anything in sports media. I just wrote for Red Leg Nation on the side while I, on my off days from Starbucks or whatever job I was doing, and kind of got into a professional job. And then I joined a podcast. Started kind of getting into clipping up videos and stuff, and that kind of, I guess, gained some followers and whatnot. And Trace DM'd me one day and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing something with us?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And somehow turned that into a full-time job. So I'm honestly not sure how I got here, but here I am.
Yeah. How long did you work at Red Leg Nation and doing the writing there?
I started in 2013. My very first article was who should start the wild card game. I broke down all of the options, and then they all got hurt, so it didn't really actually matter. And the funny thing is, I think I spent all this time writing this, and I didn't even put Johnny Cueto as an option because he was on the IL when I wrote the article, and he ends up starting the game. And then from 2013 up until when I started with Chatterbox, I wrote really heavily in like 2015, 16, 17, like some of the darkest years for the Reds. I wrote my most. And then I had my first kid in 2017. And so I slowed down a little bit, but I still wrote with them all the way up until I started with Chatterbox in 2023.
All right. That's nice.
Yeah. So we kind of have a similar trajectory, I guess, in a way, because I never saw any of this ever being even an idea. And even writing, like I hated writing in school. Like it was terrible. And just I started following you and Trace on Chatterbox, and it kind of inspired me to like want to talk about it on social media. So I just kind of just threw some thoughts out there, and Mike Ballantyne from WeLikeSportsPC.com reached out and he's like, "Hey, would you be interested in writing about the Reds on our website?" And I was like, "Sure." And my first article was called "The Most Exciting Team in Baseball, but Not Yet," and that was in May of 24. And as you know, May of 24 was just an absolute terrible month for the Reds. And it's just, I highlighted like how all these players are going to be so good. And then, obviously, we have a good manager, and then we saw how everything just fell apart last year. But yeah, and then, that turned into a podcast appearance on him, and then that turned into this. And, Roger and I met through your guys' chat, and then we wrote an article together about the salary cap in baseball, and that turned into a podcast. And it's funny how that turned into doing a pregame show with you guys. I was like, oh, that'd be cool. And it's a lot of fun. And it's funny. Just you take something just by chance, and then it just happens, and you're like, holy cow, I never saw this ever being a thing.
Yeah. My, I talked to my mom and stuff, and my mom's like, "Yeah, I always saw you doing some of those sports," and I was like,
What?
When I was a kid, yeah, but I just, I don't know why. I just never really thought it was possible. And sometimes I think back, I'm like, man, I wish I would have gotten to the podcast game earlier, because I could have. But I don't know if it all equals out to where we're at. So it all worked out. I'm thrilled it did. And I'm just gonna ride this out as long as I can.
Yeah. So I guess speaking of Chatterbox, you and Trace had that idea in 2023. You guys started into spring training. You did some shows, and then you really started doing your post game show after every game. And it's funny because I've watched from the beginning. I was never really a chat person. I never really got into being a part of like a chat community. But then it grew on me, so I'm like, oh, this is a lot of fun. But how, like, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but how did that idea like become an idea? And then what do you think's been like the biggest key to your guys' success?
Yeah, so I was doing a podcast before, and it was just crazy that Trace reached out to me, because I felt like the one thing that was missing at that point in the Reds, I don't know, media or whatever, was there wasn't a podcast like that gave even a short recap of every game. And I just remember, as I was just a fan, and I remember in 2020, just give you an example, I remember the Reds swept the Pirates in a 4-game series, and it was a huge like series, and it got the Reds back in the race. And I was like, I was driving around for work, I was like, I gotta have something to listen to about the Reds, and there was not a single, like, every podcast was like 5 days old, and I was like, there's got to be someone talking about the Reds. Like, this is awesome, I want to be. And so I had kind of thought, hey, I want to start in some sort of daily thing. And then Trace reached out to me. I was like, this is really cool. And Trace said, go live in the 9th inning. And I was like, that's dumb. That's such a dumb idea. I was like, I won't be prepared. Like, I want to be prepared. I got to be prepared and know what I'm doing. If you've watched the show, I get frantic when I don't have all my stuff ready. And Trace's like, oh, we got to go live in the 9th. I was like, all right, man, I'll try it out. And I mean, that clearly, I think, was what set us apart, was because people wanted to be a part of it. And that's all Trace's vision. I thought that was nuts. So I can't take any credit whatsoever for that, other than making stupid faces and reacting. And I mean, I'll be honest, occasionally maybe we sell it a little bit, but I mean, most of the reactions are pretty genuine. I mean, it's just being a fan of a baseball team. I think people kind of like that they can be a part of that.
Yeah, there's so many memories from that, just like the start of that. Yeah, like before the winning streak, like just like Trace's camera randomly dying, and like there's the random faces that would happen. And then like obviously like the one where Seiya Suzuki dropped the ball, and like just that was epic.
I wasn't on that show.
Yeah. I was Craig, right? Wasn't Craig on that show?
The Reds were in Cleveland, and I was driving back listening on the radio, and I about flipped out on I-90. It's like, he dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Cubs broadcast too, so
Yeah.
I go up.
And then there was another one. There's one where Trace knew his camera was gonna die, so he had like his Grinch coffee mug, and he just left it there, and then he went on a terrible rant about Kevin Newman. Like it was awesome. And then obviously, like my favorite one was when you were just making a point and I just went in the chat, just typed up Fart Newman. Me and Elliot just went back and forth, Fart Newman, and Trace just loses it. And he's like, "You probably made a hell of a point, but I just spamming Fart Newman, and I just can't keep it in." It was just funny though, because like you gastritis. Like, have you ever, like, how many times do you see a player go on the IL for gastritis?
I've still yet to see it again. I follow this pretty close. I write reports on the teams. I look at literally, 75% of the series. I have to pull up the injury reports for another job that I do, and I have yet to see gastritis listed on any of them.
I didn't even know it was an option, to be honest with you. Like, how did they? Unless it was true. I guess that's the thing we don't.
It's one of those things that's so dumb it almost has to be true, right?
Right? Why would you lie about that?
Yeah.
It seems like a terrible way. But anyway, I've heard about your kind of your schedule, and I was trying to figure out, like, you're the director of digital media or media for Chatterbox. Like, what does a normal day look like for you?
Depends on what happens, man. It depends. Does Zach Taylor have a press conference? I don't even like the Bengals. Let me not say that. I don't really like the NFL. I have nothing against the Bengals. I don't want to get Bengals people hating me. But I've kind of had to become knowledgeable about the Bengals enough to like clip stuff up. So yeah, I have a lot of people that help me, which is great. But yeah, I mean, it's basically just following the stories, trying to get either some sort of content up on all of our channels and growing that. I think the one thing that we've done, to be honest, it's really helped us grow is I think every other sports media company just said the hell with Facebook because Facebook's such a dumpster fire, which I don't blame them. But there's a lot of sports fans on there, man. And we kind of we treated Facebook like we do Twitter or anything else. And I think that's really helped us grow a lot of our shows and stuff, is just kind of engaging, with those the folks that just haven't gone on to Twitter. So but yeah, I mean, it depends on the day. I mean, I usually, for the most part, I get downstairs in the 7th inning of the Reds game, and then I don't know, I go to bed at 3, 4, 5, whenever. Then I wake up and I usually work for a couple hours in the afternoon, the days that my kids aren't home. And then I, go into dad mode, and then I just keep doing that cycle. So it really depends on the day though, man. It's you just got to kind of follow the stuff.
Is it a lot more intense during baseball season as opposed to, like, say, football season?
Well, baseball for me, because I have to also do a show every day and try to get content up. I mean, football is crazy. There's a lot of football news and it's always going, but I don't have to like balance doing a show, or at least not a show that's I try to do as much content as I can in the off season, but it can be whenever. So baseball season is definitely a lot crazier, and I have an extra couple jobs during baseball season, so it's really crazy during the baseball season.
That's fair. Yeah, for sure.
You went to Reds Fest in 2023, and you were on 1410 Wing AM. Yeah, I think that's where you guys kind of like sparked that, I guess, relationship with Justin Kinner. Also, how was that, just being involved in like all the interviews and everything? How was that experience with Reds Fest?
That was a wild day, man. Yeah, I had been on a Kinner show a few times, actually, back from my Red Leg Nation day before I was like podcasting or anything. There was a couple radio stations that would just kind of ask me to come on, and I jump on their shows. So I had talked to Kinner before. I actually gotten some fun back and forth with Kinner because he's come a long way, man. That dude used to be the most old school baseball guy I've ever known, and I think he's been beat down. So good for him for finally taking it. But no, he just reached out to me kind of randomly and said, "Hey, man, I love what you guys are doing. I have an opportunity here to be a part of Reds Fest. Their Wing AM is one of the Reds affiliates. They broadcast the games on there." And he said, "Would you want to come down and do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, sure." So that was wild, man. Getting to interview Hunter Green and Spencer Steer and Will Benson and David Bell. I mean, like that was that was pretty surreal. And that was, yeah, just a really cool day. And I hope they bring Reds Fest back again because, yeah, I mean, I'd love to do that again. That was pretty insane. And then, I think that kind of helped, kind of that's where Trace met Justin, and then they kind of became bigger friends than me and Justin. So they just kind of stole Justin from me, to be honest, if we're being truthful.
Nice. Any favorite interview? Like any particular guy that surprised you or?
Will Benson was incredible, man. I mean, that dude was just. I mean, that's why I have such a soft spot, because he was so genuine, and all the guys were. Hunter was great. Steer was great. David Bell was great. David Bell was just like so chill, like was really cool. But Will Benson, man, when you see him like interact with kids and fans, he just has like that. I don't know. I'm always gonna have a soft spot for that kind of player, and I won't apologize for it. He was just a good dude, and if you would have, I think every single person that saw Will Benson that day at Reds Fest instantly became a lifelong fan. They're not the Facebook commenting people. They were not at Reds Fest. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, that's fair. I actually volunteered that year, and yeah, Duke Energy Center isn't supposedly going to be done until like January 2026, so it may come back December 2026 is at the earliest, which stinks. But anyway, I worked at Reds Fest, and actually I was up in the kids area, and Bubba Thompson was up there in I was in like the trampoline area, and he was in there with the kids playing with the trampoline and all that. So I guess I understand why he got named to the 2024 rosters, because he seemed to be a fan favorite, and he seemed to connect with the kids at Reds Fest pretty well.
Yeah, hopefully he's doing well at is it South Alabama?
Yeah, football, right?
Oh yeah. I hope he does well.
Quarterback.
Cool.
He's a quarterback?
Yeah, quarterback.
Oh wow. I didn't see
he's probably going to use his legs. I mean, he is quick.
Yeah, I didn't really follow up on it. I thought he'd be like a wide receiver or something like that because of his speed or whatnot. But all right, yeah, good luck to him. But yeah, and also I also met Luke Maley's dad, and he was pretty like strong handshake. He's got like that's why he's a catcher, I guess, or is why his son's a catcher, because he's got that strong like forearm strength and all that in the Maley genes. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. But that we here, Ricky and I think we kind of try to impart this type of philosophy as well with our Reds fandom and we take it, I think, a little bit of key from you if we feel like we're in a rough spot. But your mantra of like life's too short to be mad about a baseball team, I think, at least for me personally as well, I try to carry that philosophy out with my fandom, or just like put things in perspective. Ricky and I and you yourself have kids, so that also kind of allows us to have some deeper perspective than Ellie De La Cruz struck out for the 4th time today. Not the end of the world, but why are you getting on fights with people on X though?
Me, I don't as much anymore. I've toned myself down a lot from what I used to. I don't know, man. I used to be probably a little too aggressive. I used to kind of enjoy the fights. Now I want nothing to do with it, man. To be honest, I want to just log off Twitter and never go back a lot of times. But you kind of have to use it when you work full time talking baseball. I don't know, and then when you try to be positive, man, there's just people that for whatever reason they just get upset about that. People just, and you know what? This isn't something exclusive to Reds fans. Like I found this out in sports fans in general, man. People just like if they're mad, even if you're not like telling them directly, they just do not want to hear like positive things about their team. Like it's wild. I don't get it.
Yeah, I apologize. I was trying to set you up for there because I for some reason it was random day I logged on and I saw that you're going back and forth with fans. I'm like, oh man, if Nick Kirby's fighting with people, then there's something going on. But I try to stay out of that mess too, because I actually have like detoxed a bit from it because of all that kind of stuff as well. But now I'm kind of getting back into it, starting to see it, and there's some weird accounts that claim to be Reds fans that have nothing but negative things to say about the team, and that's fine. You can't always be positive. This team can be very frustrating. The organization can be frustrating in general, but like I don't know. I guess I go by Ricky's thought as well. Ricky is always like saying, well, if you're gonna support the team. Don't watch them if you don't want to be frustrated all the time about it. So I don't know. It's kind of a funny space to be in, you know, with, like you said, for your job, for just interacting. Like that's how Ricky and I met, you know, through Red's Twitter. So it's kind of, I don't know. You gotta take the good with the bad, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I as much as I despise Twitter a lot of times just because of how toxic it can be. I mean, I wouldn't have this job without Twitter. Some of the best friends I've met in life are through Twitter. And yeah, I mean, for the most part, I don't engage, but there'll be days where I'm just, you know, like, you know what, I've had it, and I fire a few back, and then I kind of, you know, crawl back into my my shell and just, you know, hit the mute button as often and as I possibly can. Um, but yeah, you know, I just for the most part, I try to stay out of it, and you know, like I want people to be able to vent. And well, what I don't mind people that, you know, vent and kind of fly off the handle on a game, but like if you wake up the next day and you're still just like angry and like you're kind of tuning into a game with a negative mindset already, it's just like, I just honestly want to encourage you, like, go do something else with your time. Like, life is too short, man. Like, if they make you this bad, like, please, it's not healthy. Go do something else. I don't really understand it. And if you really want to protest, don't watch them, because you continuing to watch and tweet about them isn't going to change anything. So, like, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I had a couple run-ins on Twitter just a couple days ago. It was the Athletics. Nick Kurtz hit a walk-off home run, and I think it was Talking Baseball like shared the video of like Jenny Carver's home run call, and she gets a lot of hate for her, I guess, ability. I guess I don't think she's that bad. Her voice is slightly annoying, but I don't think she's that bad. And I tweeted that. I was like, you know, hot take, Jenny Carver is not as bad as social media says she is. And somebody commented, his Twitter account was like warm milk bag or something. He's like, she's not gonna let you hit, lil bro. And I was like, dude, that's not, like, I never said she was good. I just said that she's not as bad as people say she is. And I was like, hey, you used to be a comedian, but maybe practice a little more. And then he's like, oh, imagine having a name Ricky. And I was just like, dude, there's no point in even like interacting with this guy.
Yeah, the no name Twitter accounts, man. That's
the egg.
Yeah, that's a special breed.
Yeah, I try to keep my mindset as like everyone has an opinions, but that doesn't make them right. Like because that's like what Twitter is right for, is a bunch of opinions that who knows. And you know, obviously you're free to express it. This is a free country. I'm not trying to take people's rights away and whatnot, but like some people, like you said, could use the mute button every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of speaking about social media, we have a segment on our Sunday live show. It's called the Reds Facebook Comment of the Week.
Oh boy.
And the one we had this past weekend, I actually might pull it up because it is a doozy. It had to do with Ellie De La Cruz. Yeah. And I guess kind of keeping on track with Ellie. It was just, you know, I posted the meme of like the trailer with the carport with the Bugatti underneath, and the trailer was the Cincinnati Reds and the Bugatti's Ellie De La Cruz, and I never said anything else. It was just the picture, right? And if you take the picture for what it's worth, it's a positive Ellie De La Cruz post, right? And then you get the comments, you know, still lacks humility, get a haircut and button up your jersey, you're not a superstar. You know, with fans like you, I'm a hemorrhoid, apparently. And then you could take his strikeouts and errors away from the Reds and I won't shed a tear. Pretty telling when our best player leads the majors in strikeouts and errors. Like when you have like those kind of fans, right? I guess, can you quantify what Ellie De La Cruz should mean to Reds fans?
I mean, you should be like everything. I mean, I would shed a hell of a lot of tears if there was no Ellie De La Cruz, man. Could you imagine how bad this team would be this year without Ellie De La Cruz? I mean, I don't want to think about it. I mean, this team would have no chance this year. Yeah, it's wild, man. I don't get it. The kid's 23 years old, came from nothing, and he should be like the American dream of like a guy that came from nothing to being this great player, and lacking humility. Like, I just don't think you're paying attention. Like, yeah, he's a little like, he plays the game, but that's like kind of the style that those players play with. He's not like go watch Ellie De La Cruz and then go watch Javier Baez highlights. Like, he's not even close to that. And I'm not even against Javier Baez. I personally, I enjoy that. If Javier Baez played for my team, I love the guy to death. But like, Ellie's not even like anywhere close to that. He just has fun playing the game. I see the guy out signing autographs for kids all the time. He's been nothing but a model citizen for the Reds as a superstar, and it's a shame. It's honestly a shame there's people out there that don't treat him like that, and he's not going to be here forever. And I know I'm not going to regret my time of watching him that I was in a negative mindset, but I think there'll be quite a few that probably do. They'll probably, unfortunately, they'll probably be watching Ellie De La Cruz at some point with another team as an absolute superstar. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, I enjoyed it when he was here in Cincinnati, and I really feel sorry for those who don't.
Yeah, for sure. The way I kind of think of it, and you were kind of commenting how like the team like has this pressure of not making the playoffs or just not being competitive for the last 15 years or so. Like I feel like he has like the stardom that sprout out, in 2023. So he looks like he's going to be the next best thing since, I don't know, Mike Trout or whatever, make whatever comparison. But like, he seems like he's taking all the flack for not winning every single ball game by himself every day. And that's not like how baseball works, and not making the playoffs, or I guess if you include 2020, not making past the first round since, 1995, it feels like he's got like all this weight on him. And luckily he has the personality that he seems to kind of like brush it off and still enjoys playing the game every single day. He doesn't seem to, hopefully his social media manager or whatever he's got doesn't let him see any of this stuff. Cause like if he did, I would be like I would be miserable if I was seeing all this negative comments anytime he gets a strikeout.
He's been the best shortstop in the National League. And there's like 5 shortstops in the National League that are making almost have a $300 million contracts.
Yeah.
He like leads National League shortstops in OPS, home runs scored. It's insane. And he's 23. Like, and he didn't play well for like a month. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what more you want out of this guy. I really don't. Like, I don't get it.
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, him being on the $770,000 a year makes him like the best value for money anywhere. Because is he getting close to 3 WAR already this season or whatnot? But like, he's up there in the WAR leaders for offense as well. I don't know. We can go on and on and on and on about this, can we? So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that you can't make everybody happy, and unfortunately, he does have flaws as a player, but he is 23. I think Ricky and I go back and forth and say, if he's doing this at age 30, having as many holes in his game as he does now, fine. But we're not there yet. We're second full year in the majors. Let's give this guy a little bit of grace, So
yeah, do you have any comparisons who you would compare Ellie to? I mean, I guess you could probably say all time, because I have mine. And I don't want it to sound like too much, but like Mike and you and Clay kind of talked about Matt McLean and like comparing him like not by position but just by player, and he compared him to Tyler O'Neill, right? My comparison for Ellie is Barry Bonds. Other than the switch hitting, Bonds from 86 to like 97 was phenomenal. Power, speed, high average. Ellie doesn't have the average right now, but I think he gets there. I think he can get there. I don't think he's going to hit like crazy high average, but I think he's going to be an above average hitter. For if I had to put money on it, I think he could get close to a 300 batting average. I mean, obviously today's game is different than what the 80s baseball was, but Barry Bonds for many years in Pittsburgh was 25, 35, 40 home runs, 100 RBIs, close to 300, 320 batting average, 140, 150 OPS plus. And when Ellie first came up, he was the fastest player to 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases since Barry Bonds. And I guess I don't want to put that crazy high expectations on him, but that's who I compare him to.
I think it's a pretty good comp, to be honest. Ricky, did you know that Barry Bonds in his fourth full season in the big leagues had a 248 batting average?
I did.
Ellie's hitting 263, and I feel like a 263 batting average in 2025 actually carries quite a bit more weight than it did back then.
Yeah.
So I think average wise, I think Ellie's fine in that regard. I mean, the only thing I think the biggest flaw in his game right now is defense. For me, I just don't think the average. I don't think the average. And I don't think the strikeouts are that big of a deal.
And out.
Well, and he's also been improving every year in the strikeout rate. There's been a solid trajectory of improvement there. And I've said before on our show, Shohei Ohtani struck out a lot when he first got to the big leagues, actually at a higher rate than Ellie in the same amount of years. But yeah, his defense took a step back this year. I just have to hope that was because of the injury more so than anything else. But that's the thing he has to clean up. But it's hard to believe a player as talented as Ellie isn't just going to become better at that over time, like just getting more reps. And he's been pretty good, I feel like, the last 3 weeks. I think there's maybe one or two plays that maybe he should have made. But it feels like the last 3 weeks, there's been a lot more great plays made that have canceled out the bad ones. Whereas maybe the first whatever weeks before that, there wasn't enough spectacular plays to cancel out the bad ones. And that's really all I kind of want out of him right now. So I think offensively, I think you're kind of crazy if you're asking for much more out of him at 23 years old. I think your expectations are just kind of insane if you're expecting more offensively. Defensively, yeah, I think we should expect more, but Barry Larkin wasn't a very good defender his first couple years in the big leagues. Had a ton of errors. It takes time to become a really good defensive big league shortstop, especially when you're when your game is really offensively and in speed. It's not like he came up as a shortstop that's kind of this glove first guy. Like, he came up as a guy that's hitting and he's trying to catch up with the other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's also the comparisons to O'Neal Cruz, being tall and lanky, and O'Neal ended up moving to the outfield. And I don't see Ellie's obviously a way better shortstop than O'Neal Cruz was. And I totally disagree with the notion of moving him to the outfield for multiple reasons. You want him to learn a new position first and foremost, and then you want to have him in a higher risk position where he's going to be running 30 miles an hour into a wall. And would it be fun? Yeah, but no, I don't want to see it. But I like him where he's at, and maybe the mechanics of him being so tall and lanky makes it more difficult for his body to catch up with throwing errors, because he makes the spectacular plays look so easy, but it's the easy plays where he struggles. And I think that's where I have the confidence that he's going to clean it up and he can become a Gold Glove caliber shortstop.
You'd rather have a guy that can only make the routine plays, but can't make any spectacular plays? I'd rather have the guy that makes the spectacular plays, because I know there's a lot more upside there. Again, I think he'll be fine. I think it's just going to take him time. He's been disappointing defensively so far to this year. I won't deny that, but I'll buy all the Ellie De La Cruz defensive stock and move him to center field. There's not a GM in baseball that would even consider that. So that's just, I guess it makes for a nice debate for someone that wants to have that debate, but I don't want to have that debate because I think it's just crazy.
Yeah, maybe the Pirates GM would be the only one. But
well, O'Neal Cruz wasn't good defensively at shortstop. He was really bad. Ellie was made like O'Neal Cruz didn't make the spectacular plays. Like the only plays that O'Neal Cruz made defensively was all arm based. Like he would, because he has an incredible arm. That was it. Like he wasn't making these incredible plays in the hole like Ellie De La Cruz is making. So like you don't have to squint very hard to look at Ellie De La Cruz and go, okay, he's going to become a good defensive shortstop. Where O'Neal Cruz, he would have had to have a lot of work to become a great defensive shortstop. And so there's very different situations.
Yeah. Oh, panning out a little bit more. Like, what are your overall kind of thoughts so far of this 2025 versions of the Redlegs?
Man, it's been a roller coaster. Yeah, I mean, look, they're in a good spot. It's weird because if you would have told me before the season, the Reds would be, what are they, 39 and 37, I think? Is that where they're at? Or no, the three over. Yeah. If you told me they're 3 over 500 the mid-June, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's probably, maybe I would have liked a few more wins, but that's not really that far off. But kind of how we've got here, it's been a roller coaster. I think offensively, this team's playing pretty well. I think there's still some upside there. Like, I don't think they've even hit their full stride offensively. I'm telling you, man, I'm starting to be a little more concerned about the pitching. And I think I'm the only one. I feel like I'm screaming into a mic every night about it. But the pitching hasn't been as good. And you don't have Hunter Green right now. You have Santillan and Barlow really getting up there in appearances. I think that pitching is the one thing I'm more concerned that could kind of catch up and burn this team. Now, offensively, if there's a couple injuries, yeah, they're screwed because they don't have the depth. But if we're talking, relative health offensively and pitching, I think I'm more nervous about the pitching.
Like it's starting pitching or relief pitching?
All of it. I mean, Abbott's been great. Martinez has struggled a little bit. Lodolo's been, good. Singer's been pretty good. But again, without Hunter Green, I don't think that collection of arms is elite. Like I think it's good, but I don't think it's elite without Hunter Green. And then the bullpen, they're getting up there in appearances. They've lost Ashcraft, at least for a while. So the pitching really has not been all that great of late. And like I was looking through the stats, the Reds are like ranked 10th in OPS and they rank 16th in ERA. But like the Reds' biggest problem is offense, according to everyone, and the pitching's the thing that's keeping the Reds afloat. And I'm just like, the pitching kept the Reds afloat, but I don't think it's keeping the Reds afloat anymore. I think it's more the offense is keeping this team afloat right now, outside of Andrew Abbott's utter dominance.
That's fair. So you're thinking that the move then is to try to add some pitching at the deadline, or like just try to promote some guys? I know, obviously, I think we talk about Burns all the time, but is that a solution?
I hope so. I certainly want to see him. I mean, it's hard to envision how he couldn't help this team. I think you could kind of get him into a creative role. I think they've had some tough challenges with him because they didn't know if they were going to be buyers or sellers, and that kind of has a chain effect on, making sure you get starts for guys that you might want to move. But yeah, I mean, Burns could be a major impact. I don't want to see the Reds go out and try to get a frontline starter at the trade deadline. I think if you look back throughout baseball, there's been a lot of times that's backfired on teams. I think they should probably just go and add a couple bullpen arms. And then I think they should try to add a bat. But I'd rather see them, and I said this earlier today, I would rather see them add a couple bullpen arms. And a guy like I like is Eugenio Suarez. Now, he may not even be available because the Diamondbacks might. But don't think exactly Eugenio Suarez. Think that type of player, like a player with some serious upside that can help this team. But he's not like the Ryan, the O'Hearn that's going to be like the most sought after, coveted. I don't really want to see the Reds go after that guy. I'd rather go with a guy like Suarez that has the upside, but is going to cost probably as much taking on his contract for the rest of the year as the prospect capital, and then also getting a couple bullpen arms. But I'd rather they do that than try to put all their eggs in their basket for one hitter.
I agree, and I would love honestly, I'd love a Suarez reunion. Just his pop in the lineup would be awesome. I put an article out yesterday. Can the Reds be a contender in 2025? And I kind of went deep into Terry Francona a little bit. His first season, well, let me backtrack. In this season, through 73 games, 38 and 35. Boston was weird just because they were good before. They just fired Greg Little for whatever reason. Through 73 games in Boston, they were 43 and 30. But obviously, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz, Kurt Schilling, Pedro Martinez, add everybody else on that team, Johnny Damon, anybody else, Euclid. I mean, they were good. But the team that I was, I guess, struck by was the 2013 Cleveland team. I see a lot of comparisons to that team, just based off of like Jose Ramirez was 20 coming up. You can kind of make that, I guess, comparison to Ellie a little bit, just being 23. But like starting pitching, they had Justin Masterson, Ubaldo Jimenez, Scott Kazmir, Corey Kluber, Zach McAllister. They were 15th in ERA that season, and second in strikeouts, 13th in earned runs, 10th in home runs allowed. And then offensively, they were 13th in batting average, 6th in stolen bases, 7th in on base percentage, and 9th in slugging. But I see some similarities with the Cleveland team of 2013 and the 2025 Reds. And Cleveland, through 73 games, started out 39 and 34, and they ended up with 92 wins. And we were, 38 and 35? I'm not saying we're going to win 92 games, but, I mean, that's a pretty good comp, I guess, if we're going to compare Terry Francona-led teams. But I'm not saying Terry Francona is the absolute reason for all of this stuff, but he seems to have a track record with like slow starts and then getting hot.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's something to playing for the 162 that you have to kind of know. And I think David Bell's biggest flaw was probably in 2019, his first year. He tried to pull starting pitchers very, very early. Like he was like fourth inning. First sign of trouble, he was pulling them. And like, I think he learned very quickly, oh, that's not going to get me through a full year. And he completely changed and he adapted the rest of his time in Cincinnati. Like Terry Francona knows all of that. He's been through all of that, and all of that kind of stuff matters. Now, how much can he impact wins and losses? I don't know, man. Trying to figure that out with managers is it's a tough task. But you like that if you go through tough patches, he's going to know how to keep everyone loose, and he knows all that kind of stuff, and that stuff absolutely is valuable. I just hope in the second half that Reds are trying to capitalize on every marginal thing they can, because this is not a team that, like, with all due respect to Terry Francona's time in Boston, you don't have to win on the margins in Boston. I mean, the talent will win for you, right? The Reds have to win in the margins. And so that's why a lot of people have like tried to use like what he did in Boston. I'm like, throw out what he did in Boston. It doesn't
that's
matter.
Why I wanted to include Cleveland in that, just because
Cleveland is what matters. And yeah, he was able to keep those teams afloat and kind of get through some tough times. But I also think that, Cleveland's organization deserves a lot of credit for that too, because, since Francona's left, they've kept the machine running, right? And I think it has to be a full organizational effort from top to bottom. When you're a small market team, you have to have good front office. You have to have good management that can implement what you're trying to do, and you have to win on the margin. So I've been very pleased with what they're doing. I think Francona's done a much. I think he's done a much better job of late in terms of not doing some of the just insane things like batting Santiago Espinal second against right-handed pitching. And I think he's done a good job managing the bullpen. I think he's done a really good job managing the bullpen all year. And even if he runs Santillan and Barlow into the ground, I think he had to. I don't think he had a choice. And you can either not run them into the ground and not have a chance late in the season, or run them into the ground and try to find someone else to replace them if they run out of gas.
Yeah, I think, Roger, you had a pretty fun stat about Gavin Lux batting in the 2-hole.
That wasn't exactly stats. I was just
well, no, but it's not like it's true.
Yeah, like Lux in the 2-hole. Well, you talk about the batting average. He was like 6-0 the last 6 games that he bat in the 2-hole. But also he was like hitting like 400 against righties, but like 150 against like left-handers. So like that 2-hole, I don't know. I don't want to make it. It's not like an issue, but the 2-hole conundrum situation is interesting because it feels like it could be just solved by putting Ellie there. But I don't know exactly if it's just the old school way of Francona that he has to have the slap hitter in the 2-hole or what. Because I mean, it seems like Ellie's already becoming Bonds because he's hitting for power now. He's becoming like the stereotypical 3 hitter. So I don't know. What is his like old school ways gonna be an issue going forward?
The Gavin Lux thing is weird because Francona earlier in the year was talking about how he didn't want to have 3 lefties at the top of the lineup because of how easy it makes it on the pitcher. So, yeah, that was what kind of confused me a little bit. I think Ellie should bat second. I agree with you. I think it solves all your problems. And the one thing that the problem it does with Lux is it makes it too easy to have to take Lux out of the game. And I think Lux is one of the Reds' best hitters. And yes, you have to pinch hit for him if there's a big spot against the right-handed pitcher. But if you're having Lux bat with a righty in front of him and a righty behind him, it's a lot harder for a manager to bring in. If your manager brings a lefty, he's got to also face them. So I don't really understand that. I don't know if they just felt like, hey, we've got to just try to stack the top of the lineup to get something going, and it's kind of worked. I think it's a Band-Aid solution. I don't think it's a long-term solution.
Yeah, I think the real issue is just the struggles of Matt McLain. I think McLain, if he was batting second or third potentially with Ellie at the 2-hole, that kind of solves it just with Ellie switch hitting. Just you have 2 lefties or back-to-back righties after the lefty. That would be helpful. And I think we had too high of expectations for McLain. I was on record. I was like, I expected him to hit like 100 for like the first couple months, only because you miss a season in like 2 months. Like you're there's no way you can just come back and just have the start that he had. I mean, he looked just like McLean of 23 when he started. And then, obviously he had the hamstring injury and then he missed time. And maybe, I don't know, maybe just missing that time just kind of threw off rhythm, I guess. But yeah, Matt McLain struggling is what I think really affects the lineup the most. And then obviously Spencer Steer having a terrible start to the season, Stevenson missing time, Hayes being hurt. Like it's not fun.
I mean, Hayes not being healthy is also hurt. I mean, if you have McLean going, you have Hayes going healthy. He's gone the whole time, and you have Stevenson. I mean, you can really go left, right, left, right, left, right, and feel good about all of them. Because Stevenson's crushed lefties throughout his career. Hayes has demolished lefties, and Matt McLain in 2023 was unbelievable against lefties. So yeah, I mean, I think that when McLean gets back up there, which I just think is a matter of time, I think that will solve a lot of the problems. I think Matt McLean's kind of been a combination of he struggled and he isn't the same player he's not going to be the same player that he was in 2023 going forward. I think what Matt McLean did in 2022 at Double-A Chattanooga is probably the better example of what to expect out of Matt McLean. A guy that's not going to hit for a high average. It may be 240, 250, but he's going to get on base a lot. He's going to draw a lot of walks. He's going to hit for power, and he's going to play great defense. And that player is a really good player. It's just not what you were expecting. You kind of thought, well, what did he hit? Almost 290 or something like that in 2023. That's not the Matt McLean. There was a lot of, he had an incredibly high batting average of balls in play. And I'm not saying he was lucky. It's just that he shouldn't have hit for that high of an average. But he's still going to be a very, very valuable player as a guy that's going to hit home runs, get on base, and play good defense.
Did you see the Ken Rosenthal foul territory clip from today?
Yeah, I mean, I was the one who posted it on Chatterbox.
Okay, I didn't. I just didn't see if you guys
99% of the time, if you see something that gets interactions, I posted it. I'll take you behind the curtains. Yeah, I saw it.
I don't know what to think of it, honestly, just because he says, I'll give you one team who I expect to be aggressive, more aggressive than we would expect. That's the Cincinnati Reds. They invested a lot in this team. What have they invested in this team, I guess, is the main question. They've got really good pitching. They've got more pitching coming. They're a team that seems to be at least one bat away, but they're a team with some promise. And with Terry Francona as your manager, I expect them to do some things. I don't see them being aggressive. I mean, I guess if we're out of it, I could see them being aggressive selling, just because I think Martinez would be like the obvious one to trade, just because you're not going to re-sign him next year, because I think his value is going to be higher than 21 million. And you could possibly, if Brady Singer has a good month of June and July, you could get a good return on him with having that extra year of control for next year. But I don't know who, because I'm not trading Collier. I'm not trading Stewart. I'm not trading, I mean, Burns or Louder at this point. I don't, those are the top 4 untouchables. I mean, I could get behind an Arroyo trade. I could get behind a Chase Petty trade, but Chase Petty's performance on the big league club kind of affects his trade value right now. But that's kind of unfair to him, because I don't think he was ready when he came up. And I don't know who they would even go get, because the only person we've ever even really been linked to is Luis Robert, and he hasn't had a great season.
Well, that's a great thing for the Reds.
Yeah, that's true.
Every time Luis Robert strikes out, I'm like, I like this. I'm a buy low guy. So, you know what? You want to talk about the ultimate get crawled moment. Let's manifest this, Ricky and Roger. All right. Luis Robert just continues to stink. The White Sox basically have to give him away to the Reds at the trade deadline. He comes to Cincinnati, he gets hot. I mean, could you imagine how great that would be? And to think that they were wanting like Chase Burns for him, like this offseason, that was their aspirations, were like the Reds' top prospects, and you get him for pennies on the dollar. That would be all awesome. But I don't know. There's two things here. Okay, so Ken Rosenthal's filling a show. Let's remember that. Yeah. And so, like, he's just kind of talking. But I think there has to be some truth behind that. I think he's heard some things that make him believe that the Reds are probably going to be aggressive if they're in a spot. But be aggressive in today's baseball is a lot different than 10 years ago. And teams just don't trade like they used to. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to trade any of those guys that you mentioned as untouchable, but I won't say there's no deal. Like, I'm not going to trade any of those guys for a rental, or maybe even a guy that only has 2 years left of control. But if I could find if there's a player out there that has 3 years of control left, then yeah, I might be willing to move some of those top prospects. You're still getting a guy that has multiple years that can help you. So it would have to be the right package. I think this is where you really have to earn your money as a general manager and as a front office. You have to evaluate your own players. And you have to understand that the only way to be successful in a small market is to hoard prospects and is to have the best farm system. But if there's players that you think are overvalued, then yeah, you move them and you find pieces to win now. But you can't miss them. You can't miss. The Reds can't give away Yordan Alvarez like the Dodgers did. The Dodgers gave away Yordan Alvarez for a reliever. I don't know how many people know that. And so what? No, whatever. We can overcome that. Reds can't overcome things like that. So I don't know which of those players that you mentioned, Ricky, are not going to have a good big league career, but a couple of them aren't. Like, that's just the nature of the game. Now, my philosophy has always been, you don't know, so you kind of have to keep them all. But if you can really evaluate and you see a flaw in one of them that you think there's a high likelihood they won't pan out, then that's the guy you can move. But you can't miss. It's a tough game.
Yeah, and I remember, I think you talked about it preseason. trade possibilities. Spencer Steer for Alec Boehm. Boehm's having a semi decent season. He's batting .291, 7 home runs, 740 OPS. Do you think that could be a possibility? I know they're still kind of linked to trading him. He's under team control through 27. So I mean that is 2 more years of control. Like if you had to give in, like let's just say Steer and Edwin Arroyo or something like that, like would that be something as like a power back? Because he can play first and third. He's 6'5". He's a big guy.
I don't see the Phillies wanting to move on from Bohm at this point. I think they had wanted in the offseason, but from what I saw, like they had a ridiculous asking price on him. Like Spencer Steer and Edwin Arroyo might not even be enough. I mean, they were wanting like George Kirby, I think, from the Mariners. Like they were wanting some legit players back. So yeah, I don't think he's the guy. I mean, for me, what I would love is love for the Reds to go find a guy that's making some money, that has a pretty big salary, because that's going to cost less prospects, and it's like 2 months of salary. Like I get the small market and more than most people, and like I can understand that, but when you're in a spot where you have a chance to win, just spend a little bit of extra money right now. And it's actually gonna save you money on the back half, because you're not gonna have to pay for the prospects that you lost, because those prospects are cheap talent down the line. So I'd rather I say it's smarter to spend the extra money on a guy like a Suarez, or go down the list. I mean, there's other guys. Carlos Santana could be a guy with the Guardians. He's making $8 million this year, I think. Like he could be a guy that could be an upgrade. That's probably just going to cost money and a lottery ticket prospect. That's it. Those are the kind of guys I want to target more than anything else.
Yeah, and I guess kind of going back to Luis Robert, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Trevor Bauer trade, because the Cleveland needed to get rid of him. He was just a clubhouse cancer in there, infamously throwing the ball over the center field wall and just the whole debacle. But then he goes to Cincinnati, and I guess was that around Derek Johnson's like beginning? When
that was his
first season, right?
First year, yeah.
I think that those two, like Derek Johnson's, like they need to keep him as long as you can. But just I guess like that whole like system of like spin rate and all that stuff, I think that really helped Bauer, and obviously the off the field stuff or whatever. But you could see, I could see a world where like you said, like Robert stinks it up in Chicago and then comes here and gets hot. It's just change of scenery, whatever it may take. Like that would be just the ultimate, like you said, get crawled moment.
He's got an interesting contract, because he has the team options, I think, for $15 million the next 2 years. So you can get Robert, and if he stinks, you don't have to keep him. Like if he shows absolutely no signs of life, but if he does, then you all of a sudden have a very favorable contract for him for the next 2 years. So, yeah. He's such a that there's just, I don't know if there's ever been a player that's been on a contract like that was maybe moved at the deadline, where it's like you're either getting a guy for just as a rental or 3 years if he plays well. So I don't really know how do you value that? It's kind of a weird player to value. So although I still think even if Robert completely stinks all the way up to the trade deadline, there's probably be a lot of teams that say, you know what, we can fix him. And the White Sox will probably get a decent return. But obviously it's going to be pennies on the dollar compared to what they could have got this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was just looking it up. He actually has got club options for 2026, $20 million, and same thing in 2027, $20 million.
$20 million. Yeah, that's crazy. Like for an option.
I think I heard Yankees were sniffing around there, possibly for him. So he might be, if he can come to Cincinnati, I think it's kind of a steal in terms of he was the hottest guy and now kind of being devalued, obviously having a rough season for that franchise. And I don't know. If the Yankees pass on him, we'll take him gladly. But for like 6-8 weeks ago, it wasn't like ever in the cards. Like the guys that Ricky and I have been talking about are like James Outman has been like the thought, or signing a JD Martinez off of his couch basically. So like I don't know. I don't know if what other like realistic options the Reds are going to go for, but hopefully it's something, because I don't know. We've been kind of going back and forth ourselves thinking, are they just one bat away? But talking to you, they might need the pitching depth just in case if Hunter doesn't come back and look the same Cy Young dominant type of guy, or maybe Singer drops off a bit or Martinez drops off a bit. So I don't know. I'm already changing my stance, and we might need some more pitching depth already. So,
well, hopefully we'll have a clearer picture over the next 6 weeks of where the Reds exactly are and what exactly they need. I hope it's not this kind of. It's a very muddy picture right now because you've had an offense that has played pretty well for a month or so. You have a pitching that pitched very well for quite a while, but I think is showing a little bit of cracks. And you don't know how long Hunter Green's going to be out. You don't know if Austin Hayes is going to come back and be acclimated. You don't know if Noelvi Marte is going to come back and be good. There's so many moving pieces, and you're always going to have moving pieces, even when you get to the trade deadline. But I just hope there's a clearer picture. And for me, I've said it many times, I hope the Reds are not like 2 games out. That's the worst spot to be in because every fan's going to want them to go all in. But if you're going to go on Fangraphs, they're going to have a 10% odds of making the playoffs. And it's just, I get it. It's frustrating they haven't won. But man, you can't mortgage the future for 10% playoff odds. Would you go, Ricky, would you go put $100 on a bet on DraftKings for a 10% odds of winning? No, you wouldn't. So the Reds can't do that. So I hope that if they're going to be buyers, I hope they're not just close. I hope they have a couple game lead because then I'll be a lot more sold on the idea of buying than not, because I don't really want the Reds to increase their playoff chances from 10 to 15 and mortgage the future in the process.
Yeah, I got one more thing on Luis Robert. Then we can move on.
Luis Robert show.
If we're gonna buy, we need to buy now because he is kind of heating up a little bit. Last 30 games,
the White Sox are gonna run that down to the deadline, man. They're not idiots.
Yeah, they know. But last 30 games, he's batting 196, 245, 275. Last 15 games, 204, 264, 306. Then the last 7 games, 250, 318, 300. I mean, it's not great, but there is signs of life in him. And I just think he's just miserable in Chicago. I honestly do. But it'd be a fun one. I think it's just a name. I think people just see the name and they go, "Oh, let's do it. We need the name here." But nobody knew who Ellie De La Cruz was unless you were following the Reds, 4 years ago. I remember seeing the highlights of him in Daytona and Dayton, just unbelievable. I'm like, this guy is. I remember telling my parents in 2021, I'm like, look out for this Ellie De La Cruz guy. He is going to blow our socks off. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And then it was 2022, towards the end of the season, he had that game where he had a home run from both sides of the plate and stole 3 bases. I was like, this guy right here, man, when he comes up, man, we're in for a treat. And then, obviously 2023 happens and he, hits for a cycle. He, just unbelievable. And I don't know. You see a name and you go, we need a name. But, names can be made. TJ Friedl's making a name for himself. He was undrafted, signed as a undrafted free agent, and then he could potentially get all-star considerations.
Yeah.
Get out and vote. He's not even on the top. He got Austin Hayes got more votes, but anyway, that's a whole different thing. But yeah. All right. Yeah. Nick, we really appreciate your time. We got, I think, one last final question for you. It's kind of a doozy. You can take it any way you kind of want. But are the Reds going to win in your lifetime?
Yes. Yeah. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't do a show every night about it. I don't know when it's going to be, but it'll happen, man. They'll win. I don't know if they'll win a World Series in my lifetime. I mean, I think that there's so much luck involved in winning a World Series. But I just hope that they give themselves chances, lots of chances. And if you keep doing that, you'll probably break through at some point, at least make a run. But man, I just getting to the NLCS would be pretty cool. That's really all I want right now. I just want to kind of get a taste of some success in the playoffs. Living here in Cleveland, there's some Guardians fans that like, we even won a World Series. I'm just like, dude, like, you've had some incredible moments, man. I got to go to a couple of the playoff games. I was at the Oscar Gonzalez walk-off game. That game was incredible, man. Some of their games in the playoffs last year, those were incredible moments. Their run to the World Series in 2016, those were incredible baseball moments. And yeah, they didn't win the World Series, but they had moments that will last forever. And I just hope the Reds can have some of those and give yourself a chance, and maybe you can pull one off. But we'll see. 2026 is gonna be interesting. I hope that baseball makes some changes to make teams like the Reds have a little bit better of a fair shake. Not saying that the Reds are off the hook for not spending and all that kind of stuff. Don't twist my words. But I think we can all agree they don't have a fair shake as some of the other teams across baseball. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And that might change things.
Do you think that it will happen with a Castellini family member owning the team?
Probably. I don't see why they would sell. I mean, Phil's pretty young. Seems like he's very invested in terms of like wanting to be a part of this. So, I mean, it's so hard to become a baseball owner. I don't know why you'd sell, and the Reds aren't going to be one of those teams that have gone so far from here to here where you're making so much money. I think most of those people are in it because I'm not going to give them because they love the game. I think they're in it because they love the fact they own a baseball team and how cool that is as much as anything. But I'm not saying they wouldn't sell, but if you had to ask me, I'd say it's probably more likely they're in the ownership group till I'm very, very old.
Yeah, I think the Lindners still have like a small portion of minority stake. So I don't know. The Lakers are up for sale. So maybe the Castellinis will sell. I don't know. Just a pipe dream there to sell to Bezos or somebody with billions and billions of dollars. But yeah, maybe one day. Not today. But yeah, Rick, you got anything else for our special guest?
No, just really appreciate you, Nick, not only for coming on, but also for like all the opportunities you give me and all the help you've given me too. I mean, I've had 2-hour phone conversations with you on trying to get my mic fixed. That was a fun experience because I had no idea. I mean, we had Reed on the show, and I'm thinking I'm muting the mic, and I'm just like clearing my throat, like I'm good, and nope, not at all. And it was just terrible broadcasting. You live and you learn, and really appreciate everything you've done.
Yeah, nice meeting you, Roger. Ricky, appreciate you, man. You've done a lot of good stuff for us too, and you do a lot of good work for us here at Chatterbox. So I feel like it should be the other way around. I'm thanking you, my friend, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, thank you so much, Nick. Thank you. Go Reds.
Go Reds.
Go Reds.
We're the Reds. Red hot. We're the Reds. Red hot. We're the Reds. Red hot. We're the Reds.